Welcome, everybody. Good evening. I hope you had a nice day, and I hope you're going to finish off a nice day with some meditation with our good friend here, Barry Subhaddo, Ajahn Barry Subhaddo. We actually, before you joined us, we were just having a discussion about the next few weeks, and if you're sort of making plans to go off to exotic places or or anything like that. The class, the idea is the last class, and once again I'm looking at my diary. The last class is scheduled for the 22nd of July, and that will be with Ajahn Barry again on the 22nd of July, and then technically classes close until sometime, I don't know, sometime in September, early September, I'm guessing. But I thought you'd like to know that. And I'm quietly agitating, very quietly agitating. Maybe we could extend this class for another week or so. But I don't want to burden. Behind the scenes here, there are all these bodhisattva types, who make this possible. I mean, somebody has to hold my virtual hand while we put on this class. It's completely beyond me. And I'm sure they deserve a break as well. But anyway, that's the way we're shaping up. Things look like they're going to continue certainly through most of July, and Ajahn Barry will be back on the 22nd. And I've said more than enough already. I'd like to hand over to Barry to lead the class this evening, please.
Thank you, Colin. I'll just do the short introductory chant, paying respects to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namasami. I think there's a couple. I can certainly see somebody who's used to what I normally say, and it's not going to change much, because if I'm fairly clear about how to get somewhere, how to get to the local cafe bar, which is about 400 meters away from where I live, I will say, well, you go down the steps from here and go down the slope and turn left and get to the end of the road and turn right, and then you'll find it on the left. Now, I'm not interested in confusing the matter by giving you all sorts of descriptions of things you might pass, the types of things you might walk on, because there's a tendency to get lost in these things, and more often than not forget where you're going. And the same with developing techniques. We like to develop techniques because it feels as if we're doing something. And yes, we need, in a sense, to do something. But we also need to know or wonder why we're doing it. And as far as I'm concerned, we're doing it to awaken. And that awakening is a matter of letting go, seeing clearly that we are divided. We believe in a separate self. Now, the problem with letting go is we can't let go. It's not possible for me to let go in those terms. But when there is mindfulness, real mindfulness, which leads to presence in the present moment, which if one is aware, we start to see that there actually is a cessation of suffering in that place prior to the thinking mind, which is actually not so difficult if we really look, we really pay attention. Now, as a few that you know, I do a guided sweeping meditation. And it's about scanning through the body, through the head, through the face, the neck, the shoulders, through the body. Now, my encouragement here is it's not about the parts of the body. It's about noticing that when we re-establish mindfulness, each time we move our attention from the top of the head to the forehead, there's a ceasing, there's a quietening of the mind. If any of you feel right now, feel what you're sitting on. Just be aware. You don't need to think about this. Just be aware of your seat, sitting on whatever you're thinking or sitting on. And notice, how is the mind, how is the heart mind, as I call it, in that present moment? If you're not projecting, if you're not thinking or analyzing, you'll find that it's quiet, it's peace, it's peaceful. There is awareness. Now that awareness is not dumb or stupid. It's very accepting. It's very seeing. It's very knowing. We cannot know it, so to speak, but it in itself is knowing. Unfortunately, we cannot know it. If we could, we would grasp it. We would mess it up. We would corrupt it, so to speak. Not that it can be corrupted, but we would try to appropriate it for our own use. So luckily, this place of knowing that we can't know, I hope this is not sounding a bit too odd, is the place to get to know, or to get to become used to allow a trust in that space prior to the thinking process. Because as it is, we don't generally trust that place because we're so used to controlling, altering, grasping, criticizing, or whatever. But noticing a space, that seems a bit stupid. I mean, yeah, it's how am I going to function from that place? But we get to know it. We get to trust it. We trust it because we find that we can function very smoothly from that, from what I term as our intuitive side. Now, there's nothing wrong with the intellect. But the problem is the intellect has completely taken over the intuition. And we don't trust it we don't trust our intuitive side. But getting to live our life mindfully, truly mindfully, we start to see. And we so-called plant seeds that will germinate, seeds of the Dhamma, seeds of the teachings, not to grasp them from the outside. But as I said, Buddhism is from the inside out, not from the outside in. So getting to know that, getting to trust that in all situations, no matter what we're doing, watching TV, meditating, there doesn't have to be a difference. It can feel good to sit down, so-called meditating. It can feel like we're doing something, but it really is most important that we bring this into our ordinary everyday life from moment to moment. Because this is where the changes happen. The trust starts to really blossom. The belief that these things will, these techniques will help us, will change things, starts to dissipate. We don't need to believe these things, but we need to see them and know them. That knowing is often in hindsight. But becoming to trust that. Trust that. And there's a true letting go in that moment of, I'm using this word more and more, I try not to, but pure awareness. Right now, feeling. This class is called Basic Meditation. Now, I think whether it's your first time attending a so-called Buddhist meeting, or you've been doing it for many years, I think to start off with the idea, well, let's put it this way. Buddhism is based on anicca, dukkha, anatta. Everything is in a state of flux. Everything is changing. Dukkha is a fact. We tend to think sometimes, I've got to get rid of dukkha. I see it as dukkha is a fact. But do we have to add stuff on top of that natural, normal suffering? We're humans, we're sensitive, we have emotions. But we normally add onto it by wanting to get away from it, or wanting to keep it, or wanting to grasp it. Anatta, no self. Well, what's that? No self. How could that be? It's obviously there's something here. Look clearly in that moment of pure presence, of pure knowing, that awareness. Can you find a self? I have never met anybody who can, without projecting a thought onto it. And that does seem a bit silly, actually, but we get to trust that. We get to see that place prior to the thinking mind is complete. It knows everything. It's just been smothered by our conditioning by the whole of our parents, society. Everything is conditioning us into thinking there is a separate self, that I need to control the world. I need to be happy. I need to get this to be happy. I need to get that to be happy. I need a nice new car to be happy, a stereo, a nice partner, whatever. But let's look somewhere else. Let's look in that place of awareness, bare attention, mindfulness. Oftentimes, I think people confuse mindfulness with self-consciousness. And it's obvious we start off by being very self-conscious. I am walking. I'm walking slowly. I'm watching my feet. I'm picking up this cup of tea mindfully. I'm doing this mindfully. I'm doing that mindfully. It can become a bit of a trap because it's self-consciousness. But if we genuinely look in the present moment, noticing how the heart mind is in that moment, then there is true mindfulness. There's true awareness, not self-conscious. Using the Four Noble Truths, the truth of suffering, getting to know that, getting to understand it, getting to see that, as this, I always say this, my favorite little Indian saying is, pain is compulsory, but suffering from pain is optional. Suffering is compulsory, but suffering from suffering is optional. We add on top of these things, and then they become real problems. Getting to know, understand that suffering. Second noble truth is the cause of suffering, the attachment to desires. I often hear that people say, oh, it's desire that's the problem. I think it's the attachment to the desire. Of course we desire. We desire food when we're hungry. We desire relationships. But do we have to be attached to them? Do we have to get in a state when we don't get them? Or we don't want to let them go? There's a big difference. So that desire to get away from, that desire to become. And that desire to become can also cover our practice of Buddhism. I want to be awakened. I want to be enlightened. I want to be happy. I want to be free from all these silly people around me who are deluded. I want this, I want that. I don't want this, I don't want that. Look right now. Then you'll see the cessation, the third noble truth, which sounds like a big deal. The cessation of suffering. When you are at peace, when there is nothing lacking, in that moment, can you find anything that you could improve on in your life in that very moment? Again, I've never met anybody who can find anything that is lacking in that very moment. Getting to know that, getting to know that awakening is about awakening to what is, not about getting. Which leads on to the Eightfold path. Now, oftentimes, there's always a balance here. There's a trying right view, right thought, right speech, right action. But again, if we come from that place of cessation, there is an automatic, because there's a knowing, there's an understanding of this present moment. There's a seeing that place prior to the thinking mind. So that goes into our ordinary everyday life through right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, etc., etc. And this is where the practice truly blossoms, truly is lived. And therefore, there is a genuine change. not just an idea, or not just thinking I've understood something, or that makes total sense, but a genuine change, because there's a real trust, there's a real awakening, in a sense, to that present moment, to seeing the illusion we generally live in, which gives rise to compassion, love, joy. Because we know how others, we know because of our own suffering, how others suffer. We have a real understanding for this, not just an intellectual, oh, if you do this, that'll work. If you do that, that'll help you. There's a true understanding, so we can be of a true help. So I normally do a guided sweeping meditation, as you know, but it's really important that when we shift our attention, or let me just go back a little bit. Luang Por Sumedho suggests we say very slowly, my name is Barry. Now, what's important there is the space between, not the words. And the same with the guided sweeping meditation. When we shift our attention, say from the top of the head to the forehead, whatever, there's a space. So we don't project a picture of that particular part of the body. If I were to say, be aware of your fingernails, well, you can't be aware of your fingernails. You can make a picture of your fingernails, but it's the space, it's the mind stopping that is important to see. Getting to know that place. Again, I'll say it again, that seems like nothing. It seems a bit stupid, but get to know it. So sitting in a posture that's helpful to your awareness, whether you're on a chair or on a cushion on the floor, it's not really important. What is important is that the posture lets you know when the mind starts to wander. As in, you start to nod, you start to fall aside, or your hands drift apart or whatever. Pushing the top of the head, the crown of the head up slightly, very slightly, which brings the chin in, which helps the face to be vertical. There's nothing holy here. It's just easier to be aware when the head is back. It tends to be dreaming. We tend to be dreaming, drifting. When the head is slumping forward, it tends towards sleepy type dreams. Instead of, you've got the dreams of, oh, if only I were somewhere else, or the losing concentration, so to speak, losing awareness. Ideally, hands together, but again, if you're used to sitting with your hands on your knees or whatever, let's stick with that. But the traditional hand mudra is hands together. I find it very useful because it appears, and I say appears, there's a lot of energy flowing between them. But that's not really here or there. What is here is that the mind stops. The thinking, neurotic mind stops when there is awareness of my hands. Again, ideally eyes slitted. But again, if you're used to sitting with them closed, fine. Often it does lead to the mind wandering, but maybe it's your practice you're used to that. Or sitting with them open, if that suits you. Traditionally, slitted, maybe looking a meter and a half in front of you and not focusing. It just helps to let you know when you've gone off again on some trip around the universe. I'll ring the bell 3 times. Just feel yourself settling in, quietening down. So just becoming aware of the body, the tips of the toes to the top of the head. There's nothing to think about here. There's nothing to do other than to be aware and notice when the mind wanders, to come back. But there's nothing to gain. There's nothing to get from this practice. We just start to notice. Notice how we naturally are at peace prior to our neurotic thinking mind. Just listening to the quietness. Becoming aware of the top of the head. So say you needn't picture it, just place your attention there. Maybe you cannot see it, feel it, experience it. That's not a problem, but you can see the mind stopping. So letting that awareness spread down from the top of the head, down the back of the head. And the sides of the head. Now becoming aware of the ears. Not projecting a picture or a feeling, but just noticing how the mind maybe stops when we move our attention to the ears. Now becoming aware of the forehead. And the eyebrows. Nothing but awareness. No commenting, judging, altering. Become aware of the eyes, the eyelids. And the nose and the nostrils. And the mouth, the lips, the tongue, inside the mouth. Becoming aware of the chin and the jaw and the cheeks of the face. Just returning the mind, re-establishing the awareness every time the mind wanders. It's the nature of the mind to wander, so it's not a problem. It's divisive by nature. We just need to rediscover that is prior to this thinking process. Now bringing into your mindfulness, your bare attention, whatever you want to call it, the whole of the face and the head, the whole of the head. Noticing that space of awareness. So becoming aware of the neck and the throat. And the shoulders. Just noticing, not interfering, just noticing, not projecting, just being aware. Aware of the stillness, the knowingness. So allowing that awareness to spread down from the shoulders, down the arms to the elbows. The front of the arms, the sides, the back of the arms. And becoming aware of the forearms from the elbows down to the wrists. Become aware of the back of the hands, the thumbs, the knuckles, the joints of the fingers, the tips of the fingers, and the fingernails. No projecting, commenting, judging, just awareness. This is not about the parts of the body. It's about noticing how the heart-mind is prior to the thinking process, prior to the judging, the commenting. And now becoming aware of the palm of the hands, the palms. The joints of the fingers and the tips of the fingers. Noticing any feelings, but not grasping or wondering. Just being aware of them, aware of the feelings, noticing from that place of presence, from that place of awareness. Now bringing your hands, your arms, your shoulders, the neck, the face and the head into your awareness, but not focusing, not concentrating, just into the awareness. If you cannot be aware of them, that's no problem. But you can see how the mind ceases, how it stops in awareness. And this is the important thing. So letting that awareness spread down from the shoulders, down the back, through the shoulder blades, the sides of the trunk, the spine, the small of the back, the arch of the back, the coccyx, the buttocks, and the hips. Just bringing the whole of your back into your awareness without thinking or judging. Now becoming aware of the chest, the rib cage, the lungs, the diaphragm, the sides of the trunk, the stomach, the solar plexus, the navel, the intestines, the groin, and the hips. There's nothing to get, there's nothing to gain. It's just knowing that, knowing the cessation. In the present moment, knowing that true awareness, mindfulness. Now bringing into your awareness, your mindfulness, your bare attention, your consciousness, whatever you want to call it, the whole of the trunk of the body, the back, the front, the shoulders, the hands, the arms, the neck, the face and the head. noticing how the mind stops, but not in a dull, blank space, but a place of awareness. Now becoming aware of the legs, the upper legs, from the hips down to the knees. The front of the legs, the sides of the legs, the back of the legs. Noticing any feelings, not commenting, not judging, not wanting to get away from the feelings. If there is a need to move, respond, don't react. First look at it and then move, but don't just react to feelings. Just returning when the mind wanders. No commenting, judging. Just gently come back and notice when there is awareness. Notice when there is awareness. The mind settles in that place of awareness. Now becoming aware of the lower legs, from the knees down to the ankles. The shins, the sides, the back. Becoming aware of the feet, from the ankles down the top of the feet, the sides of the feet, the toes, the joints of the toes, the tips of the toes, and the toenails. And the heel from the ankles down the heels, the Achilles tendons, the heels of the feet, the arch of the feet, the ball of the feet, the soles of the feet, the joints of the toes, the tips of the toes. Now becoming aware of the whole of the body, from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. Just noticing that space of awareness, that space of open awareness, 180, 360 degree awareness. Noticing the breath, not following the breath, just being aware of the gentle, natural breathing. Or just listening to our natural sounds, the sound of silence. I'll ring the bell in a short time for us to just stretch our limbs. But please don't think in terms of the meditation finishing. There is always an opportunity to be aware, and this is meditation. Aware in every moment of our lives. So even right now, just being aware of whatever position we're in, whatever we're doing. A few people are having a sip of drink or whatever. That's as good as anything else. Awareness is awareness. It doesn't have to be something special. The more that we can see that this is just normal, the more we're able to let go in every situation. It's cleaning our teeth, washing up, walking, working. Everything is an opportunity. Not rejecting, not looking for the perfect environment to meditate. It's far better to just to practice in every situation, If it's you're looking for the perfect environment, that can't last. We can't live in the perfect environment. It might happen for a short time, for a meditation session, a retreat, but we have to leave that. And even if you could stay on retreat for the rest of your life, meditation retreat, there's no opportunity for wisdom to grow. Sometimes people say, oh, well, I can't meditate. I'm just too tired. But this is exactly when we need to look. Or somebody was saying in a class this afternoon, they were dubious about meditating because there was decorations going on and it would be noisy. But they discovered a lot. Just the fact that they actually decided to sit with it. And they noticed the space. They really noticed, not from just an idea, but from accepting and being with that, what seems like a challenge, but it actually is a lesson. It's a gift. Yet normally we reject it because it doesn't suit our idea of the perfect environment, the perfect setting. So really just bringing this, you don't want to make this type of meeting something special that you can only do on a Thursday evening or of an evening, but something that's going to transform our lives, allow us to see things the way they are, allow us not to have to control the world. I like the Indian saying, we try and cover the world in leather so we can walk the world more comfortably. Well, it's impossible to cover the whole world in leather, but we can make a pair of sandals or shoes. And practices like that, we have to look right now, not in a way, not introspectively, but just by being present, just by knowing, just by trusting that place of awareness, of bare attention. So we'll sit for another period, say 20, 25 minutes. I'll just give the occasional reminder this time, just to perhaps help us to come back to the present moment. And remember that awareness is awareness, whether it's of the breath, the sounds, the body, or just the fact that we're aware the mind has wandered. So experiment. Maybe you want to scan through the body. Maybe you anchor the mind to one place in the body, or the breath, or the sound of silence. whatever other technique you're using, but don't attach to the technique. Look to see how the heart mind is when we are present. This is the important thing. So just remembering why you're doing this. Just allow the mind, the heart mind to settle down. We're doing it for its own sake, not to gain or get or become. Just to return to the present moment and notice how is it when we are present, noticing how it is when the mind settles down into awareness. Just being aware of the gentle breathing. Or if you have techniques as counting the breath, just noticing that, noticing when the mind wanders from that. Each time the mind wanders, just re-establish the mindfulness, the awareness. If you listen to the sound of silence, just using it, so to speak, as an anchor to be aware, or looking at the body, experimenting, see what helps you most, but not attaching to that practice, just noticing how it allows you to be aware, nothing more. So whenever the mind starts thinking, starts drifting, just gently come back. In that very moment, awareness is re-established. The fact that you've noticed the mind wandering off. So just coming back to the body, or the breath, or the sound of silence. Nothing to get, nothing to gain, nothing to become, just to be aware. So just noticing. Noticing the present moment. Just being. That being aware is a letting go. So I'd like to invite any questions on my particular encouragements.
Could we ask Wandu, please, to allow everybody to unmute? And there's always the chat function available. If you'd rather use that.
They can unmute now.
Thank you, Wandu.
Can I just say something very briefly?
Yeah, please do.
I did like very much the awareness which is letting go. Can we also say that the other side of it is acceptance?
It's the same thing as far as I'm concerned. Because, well, in that letting go, it's not a letting go into blankness, it's a letting go into awareness, which naturally is acceptance. Acceptance of the way it is, and an understanding that the fact that the way it is really can't be changed anyway, practically, because that's the way it is. But we tend to believe that somehow we don't like it, we've got to do something about it, but just to open to it, which disempowers it. It takes that we power things by rejecting them, by trying to grasp hold of them. So yeah, no, it's a good point, and I see it as the same thing.
Thank you.
Hi there. I was just wondering if you had any thoughts about awareness and healing.
Well, I would say that, I mean, for a start, I have had over the years people do this type of meditation, this letting go in awareness. I have had them come to me and say, I've had this particular thing for 10 years and suddenly it's gone. It's a tricky one because we can't make deals with the dharma. So if we do it to heal things, it can be another grasping. But surely the fact that we're so divided, we're so riddled with self-consciousness, with being dissatisfied, with trying to change, with trying to grasp, the fact that we could let go of that and just be, surely would be a very healing thing for the body, for the mind and the body, which you can't separate really. Does that make any sense to you?
Thank you so much. I can't actually. I'm struggling to describe what just happened during that meditation. But I found it quite healing, I think. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it can be. If there's a really letting go, and as I say, you can't let go, but there is a letting go when we are present in awareness, in our true refuge. There is a natural letting go, a natural opening and acceptance. And surely, that's got to be, as I've just said, it's got to let go of a lot of stress and strain from our psyche, from our body, that is trying to ignore anicca dukkha anatta. It's trying to grasp things to stop them changing or make them change. It's trying to deny that there is suffering. And it's trying to cling on to this idea of a separate self. So that has to cause stress, surely.
Barry, we have a question in the chat box for you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the very beneficial meditation practice. Please, could you tell us more about the technique of using the sound of silence?
It can be a very useful practice. Not everybody is aware of it, and it's not particular if one can't be aware of it. It doesn't matter, because awareness is awareness. So if I'm aware of my feet on the ground, my hands touching, that is awareness. But the sound of silence, if you are aware of it, which is just a sort of, it's difficult to explain, an internal, it's not an external sound. It's a natural internal sound of silence. And that can be a very anchoring sound. You know, it's been my favorite practice for quite a few years. And I'm listening to it now when I'm talking. Now that gives me perspective, gives me a slight distance. I'm not attaching it. I'm not attaching to views of what I'm saying. There is just awareness, and there's talking within that awareness. But if I'm lost in ideas and thoughts, etc., then you know it's not going to make much sense. It's not going to help me or anybody else. So it can be very useful if you're aware of it. But as I say, I see awareness as awareness, whether it's of the sound of silence, of a part of the body, the whole of the body, the breath, or whatever. They're all anchoring. They all bring us back to this present moment and give us that opportunity to see things the way they are and to live from a place of wisdom, from a place of intuitive awareness, which is wise. It's not deluded. It's not acting from illusion. It's acting from wisdom. It's not attaching to. It's not suffering from failure. Something might not work, so it might not work. So, but we're not adding sankharas on top of these things. Sankharas are things we add on top of the way it is. And we make mountains out of molehills, so we suffer.
Here's another good question for you. Is letting go a natural function of the mind?
When we are present, yes. But when we're caught in illusion, delusion, greed, hatred, and delusion, then we're covering that up. We're drawing veils or blinds over that place of awareness. That's why it's difficult to see through samsara. Samsara is the world we create in the mind with samsara, because we can't fix the problem with the problem. We have to look somewhere else. And that somewhere else is right here, right now, in the present moment. Does that make sense? Does that answer that question?
Hi. Hi. I'm really sorry. I just wanted to I wanted to give a bit of a personal account. I hope you don't mind.
No, please do.
Thank you. So during the meditation, I was thinking about reality because I think on another meditation with yourself, it brought up a reality for me. So I'm aware that I'm actually reacting to a non-reality at the moment, which is a tactile hallucination. So during the meditation, I think I had an acceptance of suffering from that, and kind of thinking, well, yeah, it's pretty rubbish, you know. And towards the very end of the meditation, instead of having this sensation of tactile hallucination in my arms, which is like an aching and sensation, like pulling, aching, I actually instead felt I had like an energy blood flow instead of the tactile hallucination. So
yeah,
I just wanted to share that. It might be something I'd like to build upon. Sorry, I'm quite anxious at the moment, but thank you.
yeah. That's you know, sometimes for myself, especially with my hands together when I'm sitting quite in an aware place, there appears to be energy or blood flow through my hands. You know, and that's another place of awareness. Whether, in my case, whether there is or there isn't is not relevant. But the fact that there is that feeling, and I'm not projecting onto that feeling, I'm just accepting that feeling, and the mind, so to speak, the heart, is at peace because I'm in awareness. I'm looking from the place of awareness, not from the place of thoughts and views and opinions.
Thank you ever so much.
Good. I hope that you can pursue that simple way of meditating, of being.
Thank you, Barry.
And see a true change.
Thank
A pleasure.
you so much.
It's nice if anybody has any questions, because as I said to start with, you know, I if somebody asks me how to get somewhere, I'll tell it as I know it. So that pretty well limits me to what I say. So that's why I sort of invite and like questions, because, you know, then I can come from a different angle and see what comes out of it.
Are there any more questions this evening? Maybe not. I'd like to thank Ajahn Barry for coming. He will be back again on the 22nd of July. He visits the class from Spain once a month, and the 22nd will be his next visit. The class, however, continues every week, and everybody is very welcome to keep on coming. And do feel free to bring your cat, because at least 2 cats have been present this evening. And in my experience, cats are very good at practicing meditation. They're both alert and relaxed at the same time. So anyway, bring your friends, even if it's a 4-legged friend, by all means. And I'd like to thank everybody again, and particularly, thanks, Barry, and take care, everybody, until we meet again.
Yeah, and I wish everybody all the best, and hope that you'll Just pursue this simple practice of being truly mindful, truly aware, noticing that place that is prior to the thinking process, getting to see that you don't need to control or alter the world, but there is perfection right here, right now. So take care, everyone.